Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. During the Wano arc, Akainu was reluctant to send his subordinates to Wano, and Akainu even refused Admiral Kizaru's request to go to Wano, which made many fans curious. Since an admiral is extremely powerful, even if Kaido was in Wano, the admiral could be able to end the fight that was going on and even making it out alive. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Akainu, what reasons he may have avoided sending his men to Wano, and how he reacted when he learned that Luffy had become a Yonko after defeating Kaido. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel or even if you've been around for a bunch of videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like or even maybe subscribe and leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing your favorite video with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, as we know, Luffy has been a danger to the world government pretty much since birth. I mean, just think about the family he comes from. But no one knew of the great threat that he posed because few knew of his existence. This is because his grandfather Garp kept him hidden so that no one would know he was the son of the leader of the revolutionaries, Monkey D. Dragon. But throughout the work of One Piece, the truth has slowly been revealed to the whole world. With the closure of events in Wano, Akainu wishes to capture Luffy at all costs because he has become a great threat to the world due to the fact that he's become a Yonko, besides several other reasons such as being Dragon's son. Luffy is now one of the most wanted pirates in the world, and along with other Yonko and some new generation pirates like Law and Kid, Akainu no longer knows what to do about these pirates who are getting a immensely great reputation in the world, but especially Luffy, because over the years he has proven to be a great threat, or at least a pretty huge thorn in Akainu's side. The rivalry between these two characters, of course, began during the confrontation in Marineford, because in this conflict, Akainu learned about Luffy, his parentage, and the danger he poses to the world should he remain alive. Akainu never had a direct confrontation with Luffy during the battle. The closest to a combat that Akainu and Luffy had was when Luffy threw a wooden pillar in the direction of Akainu and the other admirals, but the admirals easily managed to break it. There were also two attempts that Akainu made to try and hit Luffy during the Marineford fight, but the first strike Ace was able to defend with his body, and that was where he lost his life. And the second strike, Jinbei defended Luffy and prevented Akainu from hitting Luffy with any kind of a blow. Since then, Akainu has been just watching what Luffy has done around the world, as he's had no opportunity to meet up with him again. But because of these things that just happened in Wano, Akainu is gonna be forced to take out Luffy. And in Luffy's confrontation with Kaido, Luffy managed to awaken the power of his Devil Fruit, obtaining the Gear 5th transformation and granting him the power of the Sun God Nika. And because of this transformation, Luffy managed to defeat Kaido and achieve the title of Yonko. However, during these events in Wano, although Akainu would have liked to have intervened, it doesn't seem to happen because he seemed to know the strength of the citizens of Wano as well as the samurai who were against Kaido. Now, because Wano is a country isolated from the world, the Marines probably have very little information about it, which made Akainu not want even Kizaru to go there to solve the problem. Add in the fact that Kaido was also in Wano. This would make it all the more dangerous to invade the country. So Akainu chose to wait until the conflict in Wano was over to decide what he was going to do. And a week after the conflict, Akainu still seemed like he was perplexed on what to do about Wano. But then Admiral Ryokugyu was already in Wano against Akainu's orders. And when he learned that Ryokugyu was in Wano, Akainu became very angry with him, but allowed him to follow his plan to try and capture Luffy. But as we know, this capture attempt was a failure, and when entering Wano, Ryokugyu was intercepted by Momonosuke and his samurai, and Ryokugyu tells him that he only feared Wano because of course Kaido was there, but since the Yonko was no longer alive, there was nothing to fear. What Ryokugyu didn't expect was that Shanks was also near Wano, and through his haki, Shanks realizes that the Admiral was there to cause trouble in Wano, so Shanks then used his haki to inform him that he was near the Wano, and what he was doing, Shanks did not approve of. So during this amazing display of Conqueror's haki, this caused the Admiral to feel afraid and retreat, as he did not want to get into a confrontation with Shanks, not at least at that moment. However, this still led to the Marines' failure to capture Luffy. With the end of this Wano arc, we enter now the final saga of One Piece, where we'll finally see a major conflict between Akainu and Luffy, as now the final confrontations are going to be starting to get placed and the stage set for the battle. And by obtaining the title of Yonko, this has made Akainu really consider Luffy a very powerful enemy, being now a real threat to the Marines and the world government, and also becoming their main target, which could mean that Akainu will personally seek out Luffy to defeat him, as his previous attempts to send Marines and even admirals to capture Luffy were all failures. No matter how many times Akainu has tried to look for Luffy and capture him, somehow Luffy always managed to hide or take out the enemies that Akainu sent to capture him. For as we saw during the 2-year time skip, when Luffy was training with Rayleigh, Akainu didn't send anyone to try and capture Luffy because he didn't know where he was, since Silver's Rayleigh was training Luffy in a place totally hidden from the Marines on Amazon Lily. So for those 2 years, Akainu had no news of Luffy's whereabouts, which made it impossible for him to send Marines out to capture him. But with the end of those 2 years of training, Akainu finally gained new news of Luffy. But when Akainu received the news that the Straw Hats were meeting up at Sabati Archipelago, even though he maybe thought this was false news, he didn't make it a point of going there himself, nor did he send any of the admirals. Akainu only sent some Marines to check on the validity of this information. After discovering that indeed the Straw Hats had reunited after 2 years apart, he becomes enraged and returns again in search of capturing Luffy and his allies. With the end of the events in Dressrosa, where Luffy was able to defeat Doflamingo, Akainu was shocked and angered by the incident, and during the discussion with Admiral Fujitora, Akainu demanded that he arrest Luffy. But not even Fujitora was able to capture Luffy, as his brother Sabo appeared at the same moment Fujitora had his chance to capture Luffy, and protected his brother. So Sabo confronted Fujitora, causing the Admiral to fail his mission. Next, Luffy went to Whole Cake Island in order to save Sanji after the Dressrosa arc, but Akainu did not know about this. It was only at the end of the Whole Cake Island arc that Akainu learned that Luffy's next goal, which was of course to defeat Kaido. But once Luffy arrived in Wano, there wasn't much for Akainu to do about it, so he focused his efforts on the meeting of the 20 Kingdoms that was taking place in Marijois, as it was very important to see the reverie happen and go without a hitch. Now, as we move forward in the Wano arc, with the beginning of the fight in Wano between Luffy and his allies against Kaido and Big Mom, Akainu was worried that this kind of a scale conflict would bring instability to the entire world. But again, there was nothing he could do about it because he did not know the strength of Wano samurai. And of course, Kaido would cause a lot of trouble for any Marine that tried to intervene. So he preferred not to get involved in this conflict for the time being. Except, the world government chose to interfere in this confrontation, as they sent CP0 to Wano so that they could capture Nico Robin, having a totally different objective than Akainu since he was after Luffy. But seeing that Akainu did not want to act on the danger that was in Wano and what that fight presented, Admiral Kizaru offered to go to Wano, but Akainu forbids him because he did not know what was going on in the country at the time. And as Akainu feared, Luffy and his allies managed to defeat 2 Yonko, of course being Big Mom and Kaido. A week after this conflict, Luffy became a Yonko, which made Akainu even more worried about what could happen from now on. So Akainu looks to be planning to keep a much closer eye on Luffy's actions and look for ways to find his location, so that Akainu, maybe even himself, can confront Luffy directly to stop him from completing his goals. And at this point, with everything that has happened, Akainu most likely wishes to defeat Luffy and capture him with his own 2 hands. But Luffy also wishes to confront Akainu, because during the combat in Marineford, he was the one responsible for taking the life of his brother Ace. Which means that when these 2 characters finally clash, they are not just fighting to see who's going to win the battle, they're going to bring all of their might to the battlefield, because this is going to be personal. And now that they are both much stronger, the confrontation between them will be an even greater confrontation than even that between Luffy and Kaido. Now, because Akainu has this really kind of twisted sense of justice, he brings a certain discipline. So unlike Kaido, who was kind of playing around in the early parts of the battle and only really got interested once things started happening with Luffy and Luffy got his Gear 5th power up, Kaido didn't use his all until the end. Akainu, because of his discipline, is going to go at Luffy with everything from the jump. So he's not going to think about it. He is going to go for everything because he knows that he cannot underestimate Luffy. So the question is even though they both want to face each other, is it going to happen anytime soon? Because right now, Luffy is off again in search of the One Piece. So their final confrontation may only happen in the big showdown that is bound to happen towards the end of this final saga. A confrontation that has been described as Oda as one that will be even bigger than the one that happened in Marineford. And it will finally allow Luffy and Akainu to meet so that they can have their final showdown and prove who is the strongest between them. And due to his pride and being the leader of the Marines, Akainu will want to face Luffy during this big possible final fight, because nobody might be able to stop this new Yonko, but except the one who is the fleet admiral and leads the Marines, being the strongest among them. So Akainu will finally get to show off all of this immensely great power that we've had alluded to. Just think back to the Punk Hazard kind of battle between him and Kuzan, and how they were able to completely alter the landscape. So this fight, which has already been billed as one of the biggest, could be just an amazing showdown if we just looked at Luffy and Akainu in isolation, because this is going to be a Yonko against the Fleet Admiral, the two strongest representatives of each organization. And by that time, it may even be the king of the pirates versus the leader of the Marines, which would make this fight all the closer and all the more amazing. But for now, we'd love to know what you think about it. How do you think it may go down between Luffy and Akainu? Do you think he's going to actually go out and try and find him? And also, what do you think is going on now that there's that special investigator that is involved and looking into the events of Wano? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So with all that said, my friends, I want to thank you so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like or hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I really hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.